our next presenters, unfortunately, is not here. Colleagues Maria Drakaki from Greek sent us information that there was serious reason not to come. But I asked our young colleague, researcher and ethnologist and museologist Tina to present us not paper presentation but only overview of the topic of Maria Drakaki work. Maria is connected with School Life Museum in Crete, and in this year, yes, I remember this is the first time that the representatives from Greece are here, and I think that this presentation is important for us. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Tina Parajic. I'm Tina Parajic, and I'm going to present Maria Drakaki's presentation with the title Museums of Education as Fields of Cultural Management, Comparative Analysis in Greece. Unfortunately, I am not familiar with this topic, so at the end of the presentation, I won't be able to give you any more information. So the present paper is an attempt to map the thematic museums of education that exist in Greece, as well as to record the policies they follow and reveal their explanatory educational and social work. What is also attempted through this paper is the comparative analysis of the educational-oriented museums that appear in the last 20 years in Greece. The dialogue tries to show off the following aspects as crucial to their further constructive function. A. The rate of their correspondence to the demands of the modern role of the museum, based on the definition of the icon and the orders of for-life education. B. The abilities and weaknesses that the museums themselves trace in reference to their grounds and identity. And C. The rate of social sensitivity and their commitment to the development of cooperation among them. So, as you can see, Maria Drakaki wanted to present us her work, her research, which has been done in Greece, and she included actually 11 educational-oriented museums, and as you will see in this presentation, she wanted to give us very detailed information about it, about her thesis, which consists of two parts, theoretical and research or empirical part. And in my opinion, it's better that I move slowly through the PowerPoint, and you will be able to read and to get some brief context about her presentation. At the end of the presentation, I will read some research conclusions and suggestions, which are, in my opinion, the most interesting for us. So, this is the theoretic part. Very detailed, every chapter is, you can see what is included. So these are research questions. If you want, you can read them. But I think the answers will show what did she ask these persons. I think we should stop here with the research methodology. As I mentioned before, she included educational-oriented museums in Greece Actually, all 11 museums responded to the research, and on this map you can see which museums responded. And also it is worth to mention that she used a fully structured interview, so qualitative research has been done. I will move to research conclusions, because this is really too much. Okay. The comparative qualitative analysis of the interview data, the speech articulated by the managers of the museums that participated in the research, formulate the following conclusions. The museum's contemporary image shows overlapping actions, which are differentiated, being partly linked with the local history of the area. However, a minor number of them plan their communication with the rest of or similar museums, and they remain trapped in the educational past and the restricted boundaries of the local community under the fear of sterile competitiveness and exclusivity. Only one of them stands out for its tendency to organize temporary exhibitions curated by professional museologists with issues referring to the present and the future of education. While the status of the museums are dominated by the goal of lifelong learning as a key concept or key component of modern education, these museums do not seem to support this goal actively. The difficulties in finding resources, infrastructure, and personnel, in combination with the anxiety about the beginning, as well as the efforts towards consolidation of the anointing of the museum in the minds of their audience. So all these factors marginalize this objective, undermining their specifications and their perspective to be included in the list of the recognized museums in the country. Lifelong learning is an opportunity for the flexible and effective solution for all the deficiencies and shortcomings of the education system, which is possible to be utilized by the museums in general and especially those of education through the informal education they provide. The proposal of informal education with the aim of experiential receipt of knowledge through art could offer a lot to the methodology of formal education. The museum is one of the institutions that reflect the ideal of lifelong learning, because in lifelong learning, the education is a right of all humans and can be enjoyed throughout their whole life without any limitation, depending on their personal choices. The belief of the creators that the initiation can rely merely on the willingness and the passion of the team of volunteers that will support the idea works in most cases as a deterrent to the organization, development, and sustainability of the museum. The creators, trapped in their idea, develop introspective behaviors that preclude scientific dialogue and lead to amateurism. Although they emphasize the need for recruiting museum professionals who will have the knowledge and who will have the skills to address the issue of sustainability of the organizations, it is only seldom that their actions are directed towards this end. The educational process is an act of transmission which is not always carried out in a rigorous academic framework, and which mobilizes knowledge between a trainer and a trainee. These two factors should be highlighted on an equal basis through the actions of the particular museums, and not primarily the trainer and secondarily the trainee, as is the case most often. In other words, the necessity of redefining their exhibition policy, which is clearly linked with the clarification of their mission, is realized. The museums of education approached through the present study need to make a lot more steps to be able to claim the title of the modern type museum. They are in an embryonic stage, And although their intentions and visions are recorded as high, it is clear that currently they do not satisfy the requirements of the museum. The areas that they should focus on in order to adequately meet the needs of modern times are specified in the latest answer given in the interview of the director of the National Museum of Education of Rouen in France, Mr. Gaulupé, thank you. And his quote is here, and I will read it because it's really important. The museum should have planning, activities, exhibitions, publications, events, taking into consideration the diversity of the audience. In all cases, it must aim for diversity of audience with topics oriented to contemporary reality and the demands of today. There is not best practice without the personal investment, the intellect, the curiosity of professionals, the cohesion in the team functioning in the museum, no matter what the audience's profile is. There is no ideal place regarding the collection and preservation of educational heritage, which is not recorded in the consciousness for a long period of time, if it is not based on the materials infrastructure, which is such as to ensure the sustainability of the museum, as well as funding for the specialized firms. Finally, I would like to highlight the importance of collections in quality and quantity, as well as the thematic cohesion. These collections should be subject to a rigorous procedure of recording and preventive maintenance and expertise that will enable the online digitization and opening of the museum in research. Proposals for the future. As a result, what is necessary is the dialogue and convergence of historical sciences, educational sciences, and cultural studies in order for the thematic museums that appear rapidly in Greece, claiming the title of the Museum, Education or Literacy, bearing various names, to seek new contemporary directions and to connect in a fruitful way the past with the present and the future of education. The articulation of the discussion about the history and proliferation of historical objects, the modern pedagogical theories combined with the concern that has developed regarding the mission and operation of the museum and the necessity of cultural management has become an important factor in the formation of the mission and the work of these museums, which, for the majority of the museums, is for the time being characterized by lack of clarity. There is a need for a scientifically organized and established exploration of the relationship between these museums and the public, the social body, which, according to any proclamation, every statute and every definition they serve. These surveys form a body of information extremely useful for their management, as well as for the wider, at a national level, museological policy, and their findings significantly contribute to the evaluation of the presence and the action of the museum and identify the public's expectations from its existence. The necessity and the benefits of a comprehensive research approach to the audience of the museums of education of our country would probably be useful to be identified through a research proposal will be materialized by professional researchers. In order to attract all social groups' interests in the history of education, the particular museums will have to escape from the isolation of their four walls and to become related to the lives of their citizens and to approach issues which are not confined to the school environment. The enrichment of the exhibition's thematic should be a result of policies oriented towards all aspects of education, school, non-school, in the past, in the present, on the tangible and intangible traces of it. They should put prospects in contemporary education issues They should open to society without succumbing to dominant policies relating to education. They should become experimental sites which are linked to the present. Their transformation in living witnesses is more effective than being dressed up dolls in their reports of the past. The collection of intangible heritage is scarce in the collection tactics adopted. The presentation and use of historical classes, namely their representation, should be accompanied with experienced speech, which might make the historical form of the educational process better understandable. The presentation of teaching is currently limited spatially in these museums. The systematic comparison between classes from different eras would be particularly enlightening. In addition, geographic comparisons beyond the national dimension could be presented in their exhibitions. Finally, it would be fruitful if these museums were addressed by the state through a systemic approach, which will submit them to a strategic plan with universal cultural management principles, will identify distinct roles and areas of research, possible specialization in theoretical fields of education, determining degrees of evaluation and certification by a multidisciplinary management authority. Always, at the same time, providing a level of freedom which will highlight the needs and interests of the local community which these museums originate from, and with the aim of strengthening the development of the necessary initiatives. The detailed presentation of such a model of a museum of education network could be a basis of concern for further investigation and would clearly allow the strengthening of each museum and its development in accordance with the requirements of its modern world. Thank you very much.